Greetings, 7th graders. Mix there here. We're working on Unit 3b, Lesson 2, looking at some percent estimation. Your learning target is I can use models and my knowledge of decimal and fraction relationships to estimate percentages. Before we dig into how we will be using percentages in these next several lessons, I wanted to just refresh on what this word percent actually means. Within the word percent is the word cent. Now this word cent, it comes from the Latin root of 100, and it shows up all over the place. Like we see it in centipedes, which is an insect with 100 legs, key 100. A century, which is 100 years. A centimeter is called that because 100 centimeters create 1 meter. And in the United States, we also call our pennies a cent because it is 1/100th of a dollar, meaning 100 pennies per $1. So per cent, in our unit rates, we've been hearing that word per a lot, miles per hour, water per bottle. Per cent means per 100. So these are all part to whole relationships. They are ratios where we are talking about the ratio of things per a whole of 100. And it's really important to understand percentages because I think of all of the math things that you all will study, percentages are one of the things that shows up the most in our day-to-day lives. We see it everywhere. We see it in news articles, especially around like the current pandemic. We see it about inflation and the economy. It shows up in credit cards and taxes. It shows up in how we tip. It shows up in how we shop. It shows up in our weather, in our phone batteries, in our grading systems. It's really everywhere. So it's really important that we have a really solid understanding of how percentages work so that we can understand the world around us. In your last lesson, we were talking about these part-to-whole ratios, and that is what a percentage is. A percentage is a part-to-whole ratio. What is unique about them is it is a part-to-whole ratio where the whole, aka the denominator, is always 100. And we are going to be looking at percentages using 3 different formats. One is the percent symbol that we are used to seeing, the ratio of percent to whole, as well as decimals as percentages. And to start refreshing our minds about how these works, we're going to be using these 3 squares you see here, which are percent squares, which means that this is 10 by 10. So there are 100 total squares in each of these. And so the shaded in part is the percent of the total that is shaded in. So for this first one, the percent, we can just kind of count. We have 10 here, 20, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 25. We would just write that as 25 out of 100. So 25% is 25%. The ratio then would be 25, that's the part, and the whole is 100. And we'd write that as the decimal of 0.25 because of our place value. There's our tens place and our hundredths place. In the second example, it already tells you that that is 85%. What that means is 85 of these squares out of 100 are filled in. And what that also means then is that is the percent to whole, part to whole ratio of 85 over 100. And then the decimal would be 0.85. And you could do that 2 ways. You could say, well, what is 85 divided by 100? Or you can just see that that means that that 85 would be in the hundredths place. Go ahead and try to pause and do this last one on your own. And there you have it.